YouTube, what is going on? I'm Moneyshift. We are back in the 2022 Bronco, and today we are going to be doing some commuting because a lot of folks don't buy manual transmission vehicles because they're worried about how they're going to perform on their daily commute. So I'm going to take you through my daily commute, and we're actually going to talk about how this car is in the city, in traffic, in all that jazz. So without further ado, I'm going to give you guys the keys. Let's get to work. All right, folks, we are underway. I got my work planted into my GPS. Let's talk about how this 22 Ford Bronco is amidst the traffic on our way in Boston. Now, as a reminder, I got the 2022 Ford Bronco. My Ford Bronco is a manual transmission vehicle, which means that I have a 2.3 liter inline-4 turbocharged engine. You cannot get the 2.7 liter or the Bronco Raptor's 3 liter with this manual transmission. If you want to stick shift, you gotta go with the 4-cylinder model. Now that might be a bit of a drag to some, but this 4-cylinder engine is more than enough to do the thing in the Bronco. This is never going to be a speed machine really, unless I guess you get the Bronco Raptor, but you know, I know that, oh, we got a sketchy situation right here, and we're good to go. The Bronco was never meant to be a speed machine, so for me, this 4-cylinder engine is just fine. I would have loved to have had the torque behind that 6-cylinder engine, but that's okay. We got more than enough in here with the 300 horsepower, and who knows, maybe we'll hit up Ford and get a little tune after here in a couple days to get us some more power. So today on this drive, we're gonna experience some highway driving, hopefully some stop-go city driving, and we're gonna talk about how this Bronco is to perform. A lot of people, when they're looking to buy a car, oftentimes they make, I don't know if it's an excuse, I don't know if I wanna use the word excuse, that the, you know, manual transmission is not what they want because they got traffic or, you know, all of this jazz. Or maybe you're looking at this video in 2030 trying to understand, is the manual Bronco the car for you? And you just want to see how a daily commute is in the car. Well, either way, hopefully this video helps solve that for you guys, because I definitely had similar reservations when I was looking into this vehicle. You know, traffic driving is never fun, so having a horrible clutch or a really bad transmission itself just makes all of that not fun. Now the Bronco has 6 gears. I know if you go to the Ford website it says 7, but 6 of them are usable during your daily commute. 6th gear, 55 miles an hour, we're going about 1800 RPM, so you don't really hear much out of the engine. You do hear wind noise. Take a listen. I got a highway road noise video coming up soon, so you guys will hear that more in depth where I'm not talking, which I know some of you are gonna love. The road noise overall isn't bad. The comfort of this car on the highway is relatively solid. Whenever a suspension has a lot of travel and meaty tires, it really does feel great on the highway over expansion joints, things like that. This car just eats it up a lot better than an equivalent vehicle would do, or even some luxury vehicles would do. Shifting out of gear here into neutral and just letting it roll here. Right into 4th. One of the good things about cars with torque, okay, is I just put it into 4th gear, which was 25 miles an hour at 1200 RPM, and the car just goes, no problem. I probably could have used 5th too. See, I'm in 5th now. 35 miles an hour in 5th gear, which means realistically I could have just braked from that 60 mile an hour that I was doing to that 35, kept it in 5th, and because of the torque in this engine, you would have been just fine. So you wouldn't have had to switch gears at all. I'm just doing it because of overkill, and it doesn't bother me, but that is something to keep in mind when you have a torquey engine like this combined with a manual transmission, is you do not need to shift gears as much as you usually would in, say, a Civic Si, Acura Integra Type S, or Type A. A-Type? A-Spec. A-Spec. Type S is coming. But the Civic Si and the Type S, the Type A, the reason why wow, oh my goodness, I did it again. The A-Spec, the reason why I'm bringing up those cars is because they're roughly 30 to 35,000 manual transmission vehicles that have lower torque that you would need to shift gears. Now, Now, how is the overall transmission in this system? Does it make it easy? Does it make it hard? The clutch itself is very communicative. You understand very succinctly when that bite happens. And that's very important in a manual transmission car, because if it's not communicative and it's on off like that Civic Si, then it becomes harder to navigate in traffic without getting that inevitable clutch smell, because you don't have any understanding of when the clutch is truly engaged. In this car, you know at all times, and while there is some weight behind it, there isn't much. It's not like, you know, by using your clutch foot all the time, you're gonna have a pulled hamstring or something like that. There's just enough weight for you to understand what's going on without it being too much that it makes your left leg sore. So that's a good thing. This gear lever is solid. The activations are manual, very short for what it is. This obviously isn't an Evo or a Focus RS or something like that, but the throws are very easy to make. I've never had to look at this transmission and make these throws. I sort of just think it and it happens. Very, very easy to use, which is good on a commute like this, because the last thing you want to do is introduce another decision that your brain has to make. If your body just knows, okay, fifth is there and it's there, then you could just focus on how to navigate and what lane you need to be in and what exit to get on and all that jazz, without having to worry about where this is. If you guys are long-termers to the Moneyshift channel, I reviewed an Auto Bianchi A112. That car is from 1983, and it had what they called a magic wand transmission. That car, you sort of just had to like put it in the area, in the rough vicinity where you thought fifth gear would be, and when you let out the clutch, if it didn't go into gear, you have to readjust it a little bit. But this car, definitely not the case. One of the better, you know, sub $50,000 manual transmission things that we have. Oh, I just realized there's a bird that had a field day on this windshield. Hopefully it doesn't disrupt the video too much for you guys. As we get into the city here, one of the nice things about the two-door Bronco is its overall length. This car, you can sort of fit and finesse into some tight situations because of its length, but one thing to remember is it's still wide. This is a relatively wide vehicle, which is a good thing for, you know, interior room and space, but a bad thing if you're trying to go down some really, really tight city streets. Now, at this red light, I want to quickly touch on the auto stop start that these cars have so that you guys know whether you want to take it off or not. This stop start scenario really does show off the start stop system. When you are clutched out in neutral, the engine turns off. And then the moment you clutch in, the engine kicks back on, and it does so really quick. Watch. So there's a couple issues with this as this person tries to force their way in. Nice job, sir. Good one. The only issue with this is that you have to be engaged in neutral, okay? Your stick shift here has to be in neutral in order for that engine to turn off, which means if you want to leverage this feature to the fullest, you have to consistently clutch out and then put it in first, put it in neutral, put it in first, put it in neutral, put it in first. So that is the bore, right? Is you have to keep doing that every time you keep going. So during hard traffic like this, I would just turn it off and keep the car in first gear. Obviously clutching in when you're, you know, when you don't need to be in gear. So right now I have the brake on, I'm clutched fully in, I'm in first gear, so it's easy for me to just keep going and I don't have to do this action every time. I think that's an oversight. I wish this stop start just worked when you were fully clutched in. So now in this scenario where I'm stopped, but I'm in first gear clutched in, the car stays on. So for some folks, this might not be the end of the world to just leave on, because the circumstance where you would not be in first gear would maybe be at a light, and then, you know, why not conserve the fuel there? You know what I mean? Overall though, because of the length of this car, it is really easy to sort of putt-putt around town like this. Traffic isn't as crazy today because obviously it's close to the holidays. But I hope that helps you guys understand about the Ford Bronco and how it is to commute, so that you can understand if the manual transmission model is for you. If I had to surmise this video in a 10-second sort of soundbite, what I would say is this manual transmission is very easy to operate, and this car has a lot of torque. And because of both of those things, it doesn't actually get in the way or feel clunky in a day-to-day commute, regardless of how much traffic you have. I would just turn off that auto stop start to make it really easy for you, so you're not worried about whether the car's on or off, and you can just drive how you would normally drive, not having to sort of be pressured by anything. Hard part always about city driving is trying to find a parking spot, so this video could actually extend out to be 180 minutes long, who knows. But it gives you some good understanding of how this vehicle drives in the tight city streets here in Boston. Steering wheel super light, very easy to maneuver. You could do it one-fingered if you really wanted to. That makes driving in a city super no problem. Super no problem. No problem. Let me know if you guys have any questions about how it's like to drive a Ford Bronco manual in the city, in a commute, in traffic, in the comments, and I will definitely answer. But for now, I'm gonna take this parking pretty seriously and be a little more aggressive, so I'm probably gonna stop talking